She had been studying English for 2 years. He had been working all night. They had been waiting for the bus for an hour. I had been cooking dinner before they arrived. We had been cleaning the house all morning. The kids had been playing outside. My mom had been making tea for us. He had been fixing his bike. She had been reading the book for days. I had been listening to music before the power went out. They had been traveling around Europe. We had been talking for hours. The dog had been barking loudly. She had been learning French for months. He had been training for the marathon. I had been washing the dishes. They had been building the house for a year. We had been studying together. She had been waiting for my call. He had been driving for 5 hours. I had been shopping all afternoon. They had been arguing again. We had been planning the trip for weeks. She had been painting the walls. He had been drawing a picture. My sister had been practicing piano. They had been cleaning their room. I had been exercising every day. We had been eating too much junk food. She had been feeling tired. He had been looking for his keys. The baby had been crying for a while. I had been studying for the exam. They had been preparing dinner. We had been waiting at the station. She had been saving money for a new phone. He had been sending emails all morning. My friends had been helping me. I had been learning new words. They had been cooking pasta. We had been watching the movie. She had been working from home. He had been playing the guitar. I had been driving slowly. They had been sleeping in the tent. We had been running in the park. She had been writing a letter. He had been studying history. I had been painting my room. They had been organizing the party. We had been visiting museums. She had been feeling sick. He had been searching for a job. I had been calling you all day. They had been thinking about moving. We had been learning grammar rules. She had been practicing her speech. He had been doing his homework. I had been packing my suitcase. They had been waiting outside in the cold. We had been laughing at the jokes. She had been cooking soup. He had been taking photos. I had been looking for a new book. They had been meeting their friends often. We had been dancing for hours. She had been helping her mom. He had been buying gifts. I had been sending messages. They had been drinking tea. We had been walking around the city. She had been working on her project. He had been visiting his grandparents. I had been listening carefully. They had been waiting patiently. We had been cooking breakfast. She had been running late. He had been repairing the computer. I had been preparing for the meeting. They had been learning new skills. We had been driving through the mountains. She had been writing her diary. He had been playing football. I had been working at the office. They had been studying math. We had been watching the sunset. She had been practicing yoga. He had been planting flowers. I had been learning to swim. They had been looking at the stars. We had been saving money for the trip. She had been waiting at the cafe. He had been reading the news. I had been cleaning the kitchen. They had been fixing the roof. We had been preparing for the exam. She had been learning to dance. He had been eating too many sweets. I had been enjoying the warm weather. They had been practicing their English.